Hey guys, welcome back to the channel! Today I'm going to be crafting everybody's favorite scout, Sailor Moon. The best thing about this tutorial is that you can use all the techniques here for any other character. So in the name of the moon, let's get crafting! Starting with a ball of clay, I roll out a log and start shaping her legs and body by folding it into two. One technique you could go for is pinching the tips to shape the feet like I'm doing here, and then cover them with clay later for shoes. I'm inserting a headpin that will provide the structure and keychain loop for the figure later on. Make sure the pin is not too long that it doesn't provide enough support for the body, but also not too short that we won't be able to twist it at the top. Then I'm rolling the top of the clay for her neck. Yep, just like that, we've got the Chibi's entire body. Don't worry too much about the line since it'll be covered with clay anyway. After rolling a sheet of clay, I cut the sides to make a nice straight piece which I will be using here for her choker necklace. Instead of wrapping a thin sheet of red clay for her boots, I decided to cut the bottom of her feet off to insert red logs of clay that I'm going to mold into her footwear. But first, I'm carefully tracing the outline of her boots using my hobby knife. Do it slowly and safely. I'm using the same technique from earlier where I pinched the front of the log to shape it into a boot, and I'm also using my small plastic knife to separate the heels. Because of the previous cut on her legs, it'll be easier to pop in her boots, but don't forget to apply glue first. For the details on her boots, you may simply use white paint, but I prefer using strips of white clay so that it covers the separation between her leg and boots, making it look like she's actually wearing them instead of just having them connected to each other. Detailing with clay is always easier if you use a hobby knife or even a sharp plastic knife. I don't like the thickness of the white lining that I made, so I'm just trimming off the top half. Now we can move on to her uniform. I'm going to wrap this sheet of white clay for her top and cut the excess off at the side so that it will be covered by her hands and you won't see where the cloth ends. Here I'm using my all-time favorite technique for the skirt, which is cutting a round sheet of clay and folding a few pleats to mimic Sailor Moon's skirt. I also like this technique even for balloon skirts because you don't have to worry about the skirt being uneven on one side. This takes quite a bit of practice, so just be patient and you'll get better at it with time. When using this technique and you need to trim off the skirt, it's always best to trim it at the top. If you have no choice but to cut it at the bottom, just softly pinch the tips afterwards so that it doesn't have a sharp, awkward edge. To connect her top and skirt, roll a long and thin log, making sure that the ends are pointy, then just wrap it around her waist. For her sleeves, use 2 balls of white clay and a dotting tool to make a space for her arms. Don't forget to detail the puffs on her sleeves using a knife. My advice, particularly for Sailor Scout chibis, is to wait for the arms and hands to cure a bit before attaching them to each other so that you don't accidentally squish them. With other characters, you just need a long log for their shoulders and hands, but because Sailor Moon's design is quite complex, you really need a lot of patience. Now I'm making her gloves. So use a log of clay, pinch the tip to make it resemble the shape of a mitten, then use scissors to make her fingers. Again, it's better to wait for this to dry first before attaching to the other parts. These balls of blue clay are going to be for the edge of her gloves. Attach them first and then, just like with her sleeves, use your knife for the details. Now go ahead and glue her hands to her arms. Okay, time to make her sailor collar. Cut a sheet of clay like this and use a half circle tool and scissors to shape it. You can also use a straw if you don't have the exact tool that I have. Just cut half of the straw's hole and you've got a half circle tool. Then gently place it on top of her shoulders and cut off the excess at the back. I'm now using a thin brush and white paint for the details on her collar. Another tip, invest in good quality thin brushes. I promise they're super worth it. Now attach the bows on her chest and back of her skirt. They are really easy to make and I can make a separate video on bows and accessories if you guys are interested. Just give me suggestions in the comments if you have any ideas. Oh, and since you're still here, please don't forget to gently press the like button. Finally, we can move on to her hair. But first, I'm attaching a half sphere of yellow clay for the base of her head. I made her face beforehand to save time. Now I'm using my rolling pin to smooth the back of her head, and it's really important to make it look as smooth as possible since this is the base of the hair. Now that I'm satisfied with the shape of her head, I'm applying glue to connect it to her body. If you guys are wondering, I used all clay for her eyes and I might do a separate tutorial for the face in the future if you guys want me to. I'm using a dotting tool to map out the details and placement of her pigtails. And with a knife, I'm also adding a few hair strands to the base of her hair. Now that the body and head are in place and cured, I can twist the top of the head pin. If you try to twist the pin too early, you might end up pulling the pin out and you could accidentally squish your chibi. Keep that in mind since you can always do this when you are completely finished. Now for the headband, just like with the choker, you just need a nice straight piece of clay and add some details using a knife. Yes, we're at the fun part now. Feel free to make Sailor Moon's hair as long and as curly as you want. I think it looks extremely gorgeous and more flowy if you combine variations of thick and thin logs of clay. By the way, don't forget to texture both sides of the clay if you're making hair. I think it definitely looks more natural if you do. Now I'm making the buns of her ponytail. I'm flattening out these balls of clay. Then I'm using my knife for hair-like textures and a ball tool to make way for the gems on her hair. I'm also inserting short and wavy pins to support the buns before applying glue. This way they won't easily break off. Am I the only one who thinks it looks so cute already? Alright, we're almost done. With my needle tool and scissors, I'm going to manually shape her bangs. You can cut it however you want, just don't forget that the highlight of her bangs is the heart-shaped space in the middle. The center of her headband should peek through the said space. Once you've glued on the bangs, feel free to add more textures if you want to. To finish her off, I'm applying soft pastel on her cheeks to make her look livelier. And here she is, all done! It looks like Sailor Moon is calling for the other scouts to join her too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making her. If you want to see more of my crafts, please check out my Facebook and Instagram pages as well. Also, don't forget to comment and subscribe for more videos like this. I do read all the comments, so please tell me what you think. Again, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!